Hello, hello. Happy Saturday. Thank you for coming to join us at Table Talks as we discuss, have relevant conversation that provides solution. We have conversation for a purpose, and the purpose is to provide solutions to everyone. And so, thank you. Right, my name is Vernice Michelle, and I am today's facilitator for the Table Talk. And we have Martina Young and also April Starks, the co-host of Table Talks. And today's discussion, what a year, what a year. 1 year later, solutions for creating a new normal in the midst of a pandemic. What a journey. If I think back to last year, this time, you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know what was going to happen. And here we are 1 year later. Many changes have happened, occurred. We, done one day is one thing, another day is another. And so we just want to provide, open discussion on normal. What does that even mean? A new normal. What does that mean for you? And so, April, I just want to start with you and ask the question. I hear people say, I can't wait until this thing is over and we can go back to normal. From your standpoint and your professional standpoint, what advice would you give people when they are so excited to get back to a normal that was once had? What words would you give on that aspect of things?
I think that's a good discussion, and I'm glad we're having it today because it made me just think about some things, and I've jotted down some notes just for myself. But when I think about normal, what is that? I think about it's something that you routinely do, something that you have gotten comfortable with doing, and it has been like a pattern for you. So it's normal. You don't think about it. It just is second nature. But when you put new in front of it, that's what begins to kind of make my mind spin, because I'm like, a new normal, something normal, if it's new, it actually is not normal. And I'm trying to explain it the best way I can, but that's how I've been trying to wrap this around my head and my thinking process. But when I say new normal, it's like, okay, well, that means it's not going to be the old pattern, the old way that I thought, or the way that I typically would do. So it's like a new, like I have to begin to think of what's new for me. What am I going to allow myself to embrace? And something that I've been even telling myself and sharing with whoever I'm able to is to give ourselves permission to accept the new. Because sometimes it's difficult, but give ourselves permission to do that. It's okay to say that I'm going to do something different. So what seemed normal is about to shift for all of us. And we got to kind of think about, what is that for us? If I'm doing the same thing that I did pre-pandemic, then I may have to do some inventory to say, what am I going to change? What did I learn, or what did this encounter do for me? Because I honestly feel like I'm a new person for some reason, like, because it just did some things. I'm just saying, it just did some things, whether it's from the traumatic part of it to the, well, a lot of it's the trauma part of it, to be honest. I was trying to think of something else, but it's just a lot of the traumatic part of it that took place that made me think, okay, what do I have to change in my life to become new for me personally? And I like how you posed the question, like for your family, even in the community and in the world. I mean, if it fits different areas, what are you going to do new and different to create different patterns for yourself?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Martina, would you like to share?
Sure. And, it's ditto, April.
Right.
When I think about normal, I think about it is like routines, what you're used to doing. And we as people are creatures of habit.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of what we think of is normal is really what are our habits? What are our established routines? What are we used to? And so when I think about a new normal, it really is, it should be new because one of the things that I would be concerned with for us as a people, period, is that we don't think that some people just want to go back to life as it was. And honestly, I don't know how you go through the things that we have faced in the past year and just try to go back to what it was. And really, it is a matter of finding a new normal. And really, to me, new normal equates with making adjustments. And
Mm-hmm.
really, when you think about it, life is about making adjustments and
Mm-hmm.
how, like, literally how successful we are in navigating new territory
Right.
is being adaptable. How are you able to adapt and adjust to change? And sometimes we don't always like change. We like for things to stay the way, but really when there is no change, that means I go through even traumatic, even good things, and that I'm not um necessarily taking the growth that I can get from it. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Mm-hmm.
could go
Yeah.
on and on.
No, no, but that both of you all hit on some great points. I like what you said, April, about a new, you know,
Mhm.
and just for me, um, as far as the pandemic and being put on hold and or working from home, that didn't change for me, and so in many ways, I still had a normal routine, and so the transformation or the healing or the newness, because I do feel new. April, I understand what you mean about that. Even though my daily routine did not
Mhm.
necessarily change, the emotional, mental, those even spiritual, those things still were impacted by what the global all of us
Mhm.
were enduring, and so each of us have different experiences, in this last year. We all have our own individual experiences, and so I think that also as we try to adapt, like you said, Martina, that we are aware of our mental, emotional state of mind. And so I would like to open the door on that aspect of 1 year later. What are some solutions that we can share for just having our minds and our thoughts, our emotions um, ready to create a new, ready to
Mhm.
adjust? What are some things that we can share on that, Martina?
I just knew you were going to say April.
I
That's
knew
one
that you
right there.
knew. I knew that you knew that I was going to say April, so I said Martina.
Always be ready. Always have your mind ready to adjust. I would say,
That's
when you
good.
were saying that, it made me think about, like, literally, even mentally, you have to be able to adjust and adjust within your mind, adjust within your emotions to adapt to what is going on. Because when you talk about our different environments, I immediately thought about school,
Mhm,
as far as being an educator. And I remember at first, when we had to go online and leave the building and thinking, oh my gosh, like I literally, when they said the rest of the school year would be online, I remembered like just crying and, thinking about not being able to see the students in person. And so the adjustment made then was there, but then we can be a connecting bridge to help the children navigate through. And with me dealing with elementary school kids, to help them make it through that time. But then when they announced that we were coming back in person, then we were all like, I love the kids, but I don't know about coming back in person. That could be. And so you get what, like, it was the flip side. Yet once we did get back in, and it wasn't about not being there with the kids, it was just concern about us being in the building and being safe. And so one of the things mentally that I have taken away from this season literally is that, sometimes when you look back on a situation, hindsight gives you so much more revelation, like you can see things. And so oftentimes though, we're not dealing with hindsight because that you don't see that till it's over. So what we have to do is really go to God for his insight and allow him to uh, help your mind settle and help you accommodate to the new thing that you're going through. Because one day it hit me when I was at school, and I thought about the fact that originally when we went back in person, I didn't think it was a good idea. But then later I was like, this really was the best thing. And I said, so now I'm at hindsight. I said, but God had the foresight to know that this was best. So what I have to do in every situation is inquire from God and get his insight. And so to me, one of the keys mentally, emotionally, of navigating through territory that we're not familiar with is literally taking time and going before God and getting his insight and foresight on the situation. And it's like in the midst of that, that helps me not to walk by sight. Because one of the biggest assaults to our mind is what we see. And oftentimes what we see really can throw us into emotional turmoil. And so when I'm in that space, I literally have to take the time and go before God with what my eyes are seeing so that he can give me the insight to have peace in the midst, to adjust to what I'm seeing, to give me instruction. And I know that when the shutdown started, one of the key things that helped me was, and I still have my journal from that day, that Saturday, the last day of school was Friday, March 13th. That Saturday, like literally, it's sort of like the Spirit of God sort of arrested me and just sort of giving me insight about the season. And one of the first things he told me, he said, there's a secret behind closed door. Doors are closing, but I want to pour into you. So, I mean, like, and you mentioned about changes spiritually, naturally, and mentally. It's like in the midst of that, really taking time to gain insight about all those areas. So, yeah.
That hit me. There's a secret behind closed doors. that was, I had to write that down. And so that was good. Yes, April. Would you like to share? How solutions or how people can deal with this on the emotional aspect of things.
Yeah, I think that I was trying to pull up my phone real quick to just give a reminder of our last session. This is mental health awareness month. So we want to gift ourselves by making sure that we're aware of what we need to address mentally, which is a great thing to do. We don't want to shut it down. And sometimes we don't want to skip past moments. Because if we're saying, oh, I can't wait to get back to quote unquote normal, then you're rushing yourself past moments that are really designed to grow you, really designed to make you stronger and to make you better. And last time that we got on and talked in our last episode, we shared the acronym AIR, AIR. And the A was for awareness. Be aware of what's on your mind. Know your mind, body, and soul balance. That is important. Know when you're off. And all of us should attest to that we were off. And we're probably still trying to calibrate. I know I am. I'm still trying to calibrate. And I'm not ashamed of it either.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Let people know, listen, I get with you a little bit later. I'm still trying to balance out. And we need to take those moments to do that. If you haven't, please do that. And don't allow yourself to rush to the next. What's next for me? Some stuff you can't speak over. That's something I was telling Martina. We were talking about that. Like, I just want to jump to the next. And I'm about to go to my next level, my next season. Well, if you don't take the moment to be aware of your mind, body, and soul balance, when you get to the next, it's going to be rough. So I'd rather go to the next with a sure foundation and with a solid stand and found a stability, all the things that are needed to help me sustain the next, opposed to it's just not enough just to get to the next.
Right.
We want the sustainability in the next. And that takes those moments, because the I stood for intentional. Be aware of what is on your mind was the awareness, and the I was intentional. Be intentional with minding your business. We got some business to take care of. You can't jump over it. You can't, just make it disappear. Poof. It's not magic. It's work. And it's intentional for us to mind our business. And I like what Bernice said last time, the MI, because she's the master of acronyms.
Right.
She's a prophetess of acronyms. MIND, making intentional, necessary decisions for self-care daily. That was powerful. So if you missed last episode, go back and watch it, because those were good nuggets that we left. So I'm actually just going in the refrigerator and pulling out the leftovers just to remind us that mental component is very important. And then Martina brought up last time the R, which is reset. Reset. Be resolved that you must reset often. Yeah. It's not a one-time thing. It's something that we do often, that we reset, that we have control over our thoughts, responses, actions, and mental wellness. It's within our power, and we choose it. And so you have to choose it every day. So I'm going to do real quick for us to take a moment, and I'm going to go into my Bernice mode. Just take you a deep breath. You might need to do the 4 count. Let that out. That's a real deal. Yes. Let that out. And just know that sometimes we have to take that air that's needed, the awareness, the intentionality, and the resets to make sure that our mind is sound during this time, and don't just rush to get to the next. To create the new and the new normal, you have to have a new mindset. Yes. It's not going without your new mindset.
Yes.
Right.
I'm going to the new, and then your mind's messed up. You know what's going to happen? That new is only going to last temporarily. And that's what we don't want. That's what we're at the table to make sure that we're creating longevity solutions.
Right.
For our lives. Because we're about building legacy. So it's not going to be a temporary fix. We're making sure that we're building sustainability that's going to live beyond us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that starts in our mind. Take care of our mind. You should be determined. We're halfway through 2021. If you haven't taken the time to really value your mental state, take the rest of this year and do a shut-in just for you, to be determined not to go into 2022 with a mindset that you had. Create the new through that.
Yes. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Patricia, she says in the comments, she says, there's a link in your right now that connects you to your next. Be patient and finish whatever you are in right now.
Yeah.
That right there, that was a connection, because that's now. I literally wrote the word now. We cannot allow our mind to take us somewhere that our feet are not planted.
Mm.
We have to remain in the now. We can't go think about the past. We
Mm-hmm.
can't think about the future. We have to remain in the now. And when we remain in the now, that allows us to be in the process. That allows us to be in joy,
Mm-hmm.
because we are in the moment. And we have to remain in that space, in the moment. And that, like April and Martina, both of you touched on that, you know, remaining in the process. We learn nuggets about ourselves. We get to
Mm-hmm.
really do some self-evaluation. We get to do an assessment of ourselves, a self-assessment, an inventory of where we are, where I am, where do I want to go? That time of slowing down might give you a space to really recalibrate. And like April,
Mm-hmm.
you said, recalibrate and rethink about your journey, because as we grow older, and life, if you continue to grow, you're going to transform. This body
Yeah.
is going to naturally transform naturally. It's going
Mm-hmm.
to naturally grow. And so we have to allow our minds to do the same thing. And so, I do know and believe that it was a spiritual aspect of the whole pandemic. And so in that spiritual aspect of it, we have to allow our mind and body to also go through the process of shutting down, being still, and transforming. you know
Mm.
and so we talked about the mind, the emotional aspect of it, and the mind aspect of it. But let's talk about the physical.
Mm-hmm.
I want to shout myself out. I'm just gonna shout
Go
myself
ahead, girl.
out. Something clicked in my head during this whole process, that April, you spoke of a word, longevity. I'm about to have my third grandbaby, and it's grandbabies make you move. And so, and Martina, you really encouraged me with the walking. That's something that you started doing, when the pandemic, happened. You started
Yep, you better
walking,
keep it
you
going.
know, but you started, we
Yeah.
started, and it's still there,
Yes.
because we go through those things, and but it's still in you. But,
Yes, it is.
the physical aspects of this whole journey 1 year later, what are some tools? I mentioned already, for you, Martina, walking, but I would love to talk about that, because it's we are still in it, and people still need solutions for that aspect of it. Now that we're coming outside, maybe now that things are starting to open up a little bit, some people are going to feel more comfortable. And so, what are some physical activities or solutions, since the pandemic, or while being in the pandemic? April.
I thought you was gonna start us out and go ahead and toot your horn.
Well, the horn has been tooted, so let me just go ahead and honk.
Hold it. Hold it.
What?
For myself, back in December, it was actually Thanksgiving. I had one of those Thanksgiving plates, like a serious Thanksgiving plate, and I'm looking down at this plate, and I'm like, and my daughter, she's pregnant, and I'm thinking I had the other two running around, and I was tired, and I'm like, you know, longevity. I have to do something to change, something drastic. And
Mm-hmm.
so the Holy Spirit said, you got to cook your meals then. Cook the meals. And
What?
so right. And so for the whole month of December, I cooked every meal that went in my mouth. Every single meal that went in my mouth, I cooked it. And I saw at the end of December, I felt better. Like my mental my physical, I felt better. You know, it wasn't about, at that time for me, it wasn't about pounds coming off. It was about, because I have been grieving too, you know, in this whole process of being 1 year late. I've been grieving. And so I really discovered that I had an emotional connection to food, you know,
Mhm.
and at the beginning of the pandemic, I was snacking everything, you know, and it was just out of control. And that was just my coping mechanism, you know, that was just a real coping mechanism for me, you know. And me going through that journey of being consistent with cooking every meal, you know, just understanding diets and understanding
Mhm.
food as energy, you know, just having that relationship, developing a new relationship with food. You
Mhm.
know,
Yes.
that's what I did. You know,
Mhm.
and just me saying it in this moment, that helps me realize that that's what I did, made a new relationship with food. And you know, that's what transformation looks like. When you go into yourself, you allow God, your connection with God, to come into you and really hear the voice and just listen to those things that you have to tweak a little bit, you know, one thing at a time. I concentrated on food. You know, I didn't exercise. It was just food for me. And then slowly I started adding and doing different things. And I am proud to say that I have lost 40 pounds. And so I feel better. I feel different, and you know, it makes me want to continue to go on, and just it just feels good. You know, it really does feel good. And so for me, I don't like to exercise. I'm gonna be honest. I don't, but I have incorporated some different things that I learned what I like to do. You
Mhm.
know, that's some things like, you know, riding my bike, going walking, you know, those things. Um, but I was trying to do other people's exercise and do other people's regimens, and it wasn't for me. And that's why I would quit, because it's not for me. I don't want to do it, you know. And so for you all, what are some solutions? April, would you like to?
Yeah. So for me, I had to come to some realization of some
Mhm.
things, and congratulations, by the way, that's awesome.
Yes.
But coming to the realization of some things of what I like and what I don't like, or not necessarily sometimes what you don't like, because you may have liked it in a previous season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean by giving yourself permission to embrace the new. Because something you probably used to like, it's like, you know what, I'm good. I want to try something different. And that is okay. So for me, I went to Walmart one day. I told my husband, I said, I'm getting a bike. And this bike was for me. It's beautiful, it's purple, it's perfect. And guess what? Me and my daughter went to one Walmart and all the bikes were gone. And the salesperson said, everybody's buying bikes right now. So I told Ayana, I said, let's go to one more Walmart. If they don't have it, then we're good. We went to the second Walmart, and guess what? They had one bike left.
Mm.
And that one was just for me. And so I was so excited because I said, I'm riding the bike. I want to do something different. And this works for me, and I'll take my rides. Nobody else in the family wanted to do it, so I'm just solo right now, and that's okay. I got a little wrap that I take, and it has been helpful physically, of course, but also even mentally. You know, I jokingly say I take my prayer rides. I call them prayer
Mm-hmm.
rides because I'm just freeing my mind. I'll be talking to the Lord. One time I played a Fred Hammond song all the way from one end of the town to the next, you know. So it's just peaceful for me. So I've been utilizing and doing that. I've been reading more. That has helped me physically.
Mm-hmm.
I have started Weight Watchers by the suggestion of my doctor. She said, you need to get on Weight Watchers. So I started Weight Watchers so that I can just watch my calorie
Mm-hmm.
intake
Mhm.
because I just never thought about that. So to your point about transformation, my mind was never on servings, one serving. What do you mean one serving? It's just till I get full. It's not one serving. I don't do that, but the Weight Watchers has really helped me. And now I'm more conscious and I'm looking like, oh, that's a little bit too much. I have a sweet tooth, and I can gladly say that within the last month, that has even been changing. My desire and my longing for sweets have changed. My family, they may make some brownies and I don't even touch it. That is not me.
Ooh.
I know. It's not me. Like, really, I'll be like, and I don't even feel right. It just feels, But because I'm kind of sending myself through a detox, it's like certain stuff that I used to just crave uncontrollably, I'm getting a handle of so that I can walk in that newness. And I have to have longevity, like we were saying. So that's just something to think about. If we survived, I want to talk about this just real quick. I'm gonna just throw this in here, because when we think about the new normal, actually, when I thought about this topic, I thought about survivor's remorse. I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but survivor's remorse, that's real. And sometimes you wonder, so why am I here? Whatever. Well, to be honest, even though it's emotional and I might tear up a little bit, but you got to look at, if I survived, let me look at the things that I need to do to be better. What lessons do I learn from? Don't let people's loss be in vain, So even when I think about my mom, I think about and I went through my phone the other day because I had a picture of like all the medications that she had when they sent her home. It was like 5 pages, Bernice. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I went through that, not to get myself all tore up, but I said, what do I learn from this, God? I was like, my mom is still teaching me. She's still teaching me right now.
That's good.
Do better. Like, it's things you can do to do better. That you don't have to settle, do better. So there's still lessons. They're still teaching us, even people who didn't make it. So don't make it survivor's remorse in the sense that we keep the same patterns. Take it survivor's kind of learning and training, that you take that. Any soldier, people who have been in the military and have been in active duty, they'll tell you, any soldier, if they've been wounded in the battle and they know they can't make it, they're telling the other soldiers, go, we got this. You can make it. We gonna win this. And they know they're at their last breath. They know they're probably not gonna make it back home with the other soldiers, but they're not saying, don't make it. No, they're cheering them on. So what we need to do in our new normal is to take what those strong soldiers have taught us and not allow their battle wounds be in vain. And anybody will tell you that have been in active service, if they were with this soldier, and let's just say that soldier passed in their arms, their life changes. They have a whole different mission when they come home. They have a whole different purpose and passion based off of the bravery. That's bravery of that warrior. So I'm sorry, I just had to throw that in there because it's on my mind. And actually, that's what I thought about the new normal. I was like, no, I'm not going to let that be something that is in vain. That's a part of the legacy that carries, and it helps me create the new. Because she always wanted me to be better than her. She would tell me that when I was younger, I always want you to be better than me. I always want you to be better than me. I could hear her saying that all the time. And when I was a teenager, I used to be mad. I'm getting tired of her saying that. But now I get it. More and more, I get it. So take those lessons and learn. So that takes my physical health. My mom's still teaching me in physical health. Get it together. Come on. You got this. Do the things necessary to build yourself up. So hopefully we're all taking note of that physically from the pandemic and from COVID. We got to build up our immune systems. It's within our power to do it. I'm not down in the medical system because we need medicine. But guess what? There's some things we can do to make ourselves healthy, especially in the African American community. And that's a fact.
It's a fact. It's a fact. April, I'm just sitting here like, yeah, all of that. That everything you said is a key factor for having a physical um wherewithal, in all of this.
Fortitude.
Fortitude, that's the word that I
Hmm.
was looking for. Fortitude in all of this. Martina, would you like
I
to
was,
add?
yeah, I would definitely say, the walking really did help me mentally, physically, spiritually. So last year, on the other side of it, when it started, with feeling like you had to be stuck in the house, I would just go and walk. Sometimes it might be the bridge, and sometimes I went to different parks. And my one of my sisters and my oldest niece sort of made it where, like, every Wednesday it was our outing time together. So we hiked and everything. I had uh never hiked before, and I wasn't quite sure I could make it, but I did. And so, like, those times were like great, even just with bonding with each other. And then usually one of my younger nieces would be there too. So we would, make a plan on Wednesday, go somewhere, walk different places, exercise. And not only was it like just your physical body moving, but it's like freeing of your mind just to walk. There were times I would walk the bridge and just get over to the other side and sit there and allow, like, the water flowing to minister to my heart. It's just like a release. That walking is not only a release physically, but it's a release mentally. And so my issue came when the cold weather came, that I stopped walking as much. In April, okay. Yes, thank you so much. And we
Yes.
just wanted to comment that April has another meeting that she is jumping into. So we thank God for that powerful word and tears you stirred up in our
Yes, yes,
spirit.
she got us all. I had to swallow my tears. That's what Oprah said.
I know.
Swallow your tears. Don't ugly cry. Don't ugly cry.
That's what I was telling myself. You cannot do that.
No.
So thank you for
Thank
those
you all.
Yes,
leftovers.
yes,
Love you all. I'll see y'all
love
next
you.
time.
We
Yes,
love you.
love you, love you. Yes, and so
And so,
yes. Mm.
so the walking really made a difference. And just though, when winter came, though, initially I would walk around the school building to get exercise in, and then I found myself, I don't know what made me stop. And so, for whatever reason, I stopped doing that. And one of the things that I wanted to add in is that in creating new normals, we have to make sure that we don't create negative new normals. Because
Mm.
one of the things that, for me, like those pounds that you lost, I found them in snacks. You lost them, I found them in snacks. And so, because I know the way that my body is set up, that I cannot just, like, I just, I, even though I have always been plump size, I can't just eat potato chips. Like,
Mhm.
even just to maintain uh pleasantly plumpness, I cannot eat regular potato chips.
Mhm.
But during this time, especially like when winter hit, and it would be that I was trying to get stuff to keep my mother engaged, because I knew she couldn't go out and
Right.
different things. And so I would be, maybe once getting her some
Mhm.
chips or getting her something. And then I started eating those things. And so when I say not creating negative new normals, I picked up some negative new normals. Like, if I'm going to eat a snack, it needs to be fruit. But I
Mhm.
started, like, eating potato chips, eating and stuff I knew was her favorite, then I'd be dipping into
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so we have to be careful that on the physical side of it, that as a part of the adjustment, that we don't pick up negative new normals. And so now I'm having to weed those negative things back out of my system. So, and making sure that with the weather changing, getting out and walking. One day this week after school, two of my nieces attend the elementary school where I teach it. And so one of them was tutoring. And so the other one, I was like, well, let's just go outside. And so we went outside and we're walking around the bus circle. So literally just taking time to be physically active. And then on the other side of it, during this time, I have added in things like drinking alkaline water, did some looking into elderberry. So usually I take elderberry. I researched some on black seed oil, which I had already started looking at that even before this, but like it made me start taking it on a consistent basis. So looking into things, I added in some ginger bites and just different things like that. Like there's a lot of natural things. You introduced me to beets, so you was eating them like they were so good. And one of our assistant principal at school, she throws them on everything. So I'm like, okay, let me try out these beets. So exploring new things. A part of it is being willing. I've seen beets laying up on a salad bar. And I'm standing real ghetto like, and I'm like, those do not look good. I'm not trying them.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
But in this year, I started adding beets to my salad and different things. So I think a big part of it is being willing to explore new territory and try new things. So for me, and so now I just gotta give those extra pounds to somebody else. Leave the snacks alone. And couple that with walking, because at one point I had lost, and then the song "Once I Was Lost, Now I'm Found." Well, that's what those pounds see.
Okay, thank you.
We once was lost, but now we found.
See, we need April back on because you and I would just sit there and laugh. But potatoes are potatoes, any form of, because I love potatoes. I love potatoes. It doesn't have to be chips, it could be fries, it could be tater tots, it could be sliced, diced, mashed. I love potatoes. And so that's just one thing that I know, when I was cooking in December, I just knew, I was adding potatoes, and then I was like, let me take those potatoes out. And then that's when I started seeing changes, and then, you mentioned elderberry and black seed oil. Those are two things that I, take every day, just to build my immunity, with working through this pandemic, being a nurse and being in healthcare at the bedside, I had to do things to be intentional about boosting my immunity. And those two things were key factors: ginger, turmeric. I learned to make the ginger turmeric shots. What is that? Sea moss. That's another one that I have added into, putting those in my smoothies. Having those smoothies with the sea moss and the black seed oil. Drinking a bunch of water.
Yes.
Hydrating. Our body. We want this. We talked about, April mentioned longevity, and we have to provide our bodies with the nutrients that it needs. And when we do make those adjustments, and we might go back to old patterns, because we are talking about a new normal, and having that word normal in it, we go back to old ways, and that's okay. We are human, and so we have to give ourselves grace. If last night I ate pizza. I hadn't had pizza in a long time, and I ate pizza. And then after, I was about to start beating myself up because I ate pizza. And I said, you know what? I enjoyed that pizza. And I'm not going to beat myself up over because I had pizza. And I'm going to be aware now. I can't have pizza no more for a while, because I know where I've been. You know, I know the troubles that can come. And also, I had a Pepsi. I had not had a pop. I had not had a pop since November. And I had one last night. I was beating myself up, but it was so good. And and so those things are not what my body needs, but sometimes you just need those comfort things.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It is okay for you to comfort yourself. Listen to what your body needs, and sometimes it might need a swig of a Pepsi, and just go on just a swig, not the whole bottle,
Right.
as you're transforming and making these new adjustments to your new. Like, I'm gonna use that when I like that, the new, because the new normal, you go back and forth. It seems like.
Right.
And so, we spoke on the mental aspect of it, the emotional, the physical. And so what about the spiritual, aspect of all of this? We have referenced God, throughout every table talks that we have. And, this has been a time for us to go inward and upward, to be connected, because we didn't know what was going on. And so, what advice or what solution would you give someone that is struggling right now spiritually, because they don't know what's going on? You have all of these so much different information coming in at once. What advice would you give someone in that situation?
I would say it's really, as I go back to the secret behind closed doors, is like literally taking time to shut in and giving space for God to minister to you, to be still. Some of what was going on with this to me was about God saying, be still and know that I am God. As it says in the 46th Psalm, be still and know that I am God. Like, God is continually revealing to us that he is God and he is in control. And a lot of it spiritually is about learning the voice of God. And
Mm-hmm.
how do we learn anybody's voice? It's by spending time with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's by being in communication with them. It's by hearing their voice, learning things about them. And so a significant part spiritually is literally learning the voice of God, because right now in this hour, there are so many voices there are so many people. There's voices speaking from like literally in so many different directions. And it's very essential that we learn God's voice. And how does God speak to you?
Mm-hmm.
For me, God speaks to me in multiple ways. Sometimes it's through a billboard, most definitely always through his word. But like in this time that I've been grateful for being able to see and hear God through everything.
Mm-hmm.
So being aware of God's presence at all times. And in the midst of that, being aware of his voice. Don't overlook times that God may be speaking to you through something, and like making one of the significant things I would say is keeping God as the priority. Like we do all three areas, but literally making sure that as we're going through any new territory, that we rely on God as our navigator. And I'm going to share this, real quick. A couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I was in a wedding and it was in Owensboro, Kentucky. Okay. And so I have never been to Owensboro.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I look at my GPS when I'm about to get on the expressway and I see 64.
Mm-hmm.
And so I assume it's Owensboro, Kentucky, 64. It has to be 64 East. I didn't even look at, I didn't read through all the directions. I saw 64. I get on the expressway. I started heading 64 East, and my GPS was like, take the new Albert, get off at 0, exit 0 to go through Indiana. I was like, I just disregarded it. Kept driving and said, rerouting, get off at 22nd Street. That don't make sense. Kept going, rerouting. Then it said, get off at 9th Street. I said, something must be wrong with my GPS. Something's wrong with it. Oh my gosh. What is that? It must be my phone. I keep driving. It says, get off at 65 North. What? I am going. Why is this doing this? I keep driving. By the time after it said that at North, I said, well, maybe something's wrong. And so then I'm trying to get off at Story Avenue, and I couldn't get over. I went all the way to I got off at Greenstead Drive, looked at the directions, read them, and saw that you get to Owensboro, Kentucky by going through Indiana.
Indiana. Wow.
So I had to go all the way back over the territory that I had already covered because of me assuming that when I saw 64 that I knew which way to go. And as I was driving, and then when I crossed over into Indiana, the Lord began to minister to me. He said, sometimes you operate off of the assumption that you know which way to go, but you're going to a territory that you have never been in before. So how do you go into a new territory assuming that you know the way to get there?
Girl,
when you're going into spaces, I'm telling you, he said, when you're going into spaces that you have never traveled in before, you need to lean to my understanding and allow me to direct your path. Some of the mistakes that you end up making is because you go off of your experience. You go off of what you know. But if you go off of your own experience and what you know, and you're going into a new space, you're going to end up going the wrong way. I was literally like driving and repenting because he began to minister to me on that, like in the spiritual realm, in the realm of my soul and naturally, that when I make errors, it's because I assume that I know. I assume that I knew the way to get there and just knew that 64 meant 64 East. And here was the kicker. That night when I was talking to my parents to tell them, like, you know, I made it, blah, blah, blah. And I told them about what happened. My stepmother said, why didn't you just call us? My father has gone there several times for trade shows. She said, why didn't you just call and ask us? And I said, well, I don't know why. As it was doing all of that rerouting, one of my sisters has been there. And so then that even ministered another layer that you got to be open to call and contact somebody who has been there before, who has the knowledge that you don't have about navigating through that area. And so, yeah.
Martin, where's the mic? Where's the mic so I can drop it? Because that whole scenario was a lesson in itself. I mean, how many times have we gone and did things in our own understanding of things and got off route, and it took us longer to get where we were supposed to be going, all because we thought we knew. You know, when we have a compass, we have an advocator, we have a comforter, we have a guide within us.
Yes.
That will tell us exactly what to do. All we have
He is the GPS, God positioning system.
We have it. We have it. And we just have to be still and know that God is God. And we have to pay attention to all the signs because they're there. You know, you said that you look at billboards. A billboard, you and I, we have our we are alike. And billboards, a leaf,
right, a bird, a butterfly, rapper.
You know, we're looking for signs all the time. You know, but that is the truth. That God communicates with us all the time. And even as the magnitude of this pandemic, that if we, I think one of y'all spoke about seeing things with our natural eye. Yes, we are physically, we are seeing things and we are experiencing it naturally. We are, I don't want to negate that, but
Yeah.
there is a bigger picture to this, a bigger aspect of this. And in that bigness, we can't allow the outside to dictate the inside. Because if we allow the outside to dictate the inside, then the inside will become disturbed.
Yeah.
And our body, mind, body, spirit, does not disturbance that causes disease processes to start, and imbalances to happen mentally, physically. And so we have to go within ourselves and allow God to help us as we navigate through these changes of, creating a new norm, creating something new in this season. Our time, this hour just goes by so fast.
I know.
It really, really does go by so fast. And so, we always like to give some points, give as some leftovers, as we like to call them here at Table Talks, because we provide a good, valuable, nutritious discussion. And so, what are your leftovers to take? We come around to this 1 year that we've been, from 2020 to 2021. What are some leftovers, solutions for that you would like to take away, for our audience to take away?
I would leave this simple leftover, and we're going to call it WWW. Wow, wow. And that is, and this has been something that at times I have struggled with walking inconsistently, but the Lord literally continues to reinforce me. If I use these three ingredients: walking, water, and worship, like
Mm.
literally walking, water, and worship, and that will address all the three elements of my being.
Mm-hmm.
Worship, so that I can grow spiritually. Drinking the water naturally and spiritually, drinking the water of the word and keeping our bodies hydrated. Because I have even seen over time that there are times when physically I'm feeling off, and then I'll go back and think, I only had like 24 ounces of water today. Like literally making sure that I get taking enough water in naturally, and even the water of the word. Sometimes we're dry spiritually because of lack of spiritual water. And then walking naturally, just as a release. And then walking spiritually, continuing to walk out. And like one of the things with that walking, water, and worship is to remember, going back to something that you all were talking about with the now. And one of the things that the Lord spoke to me was enjoy the now and trust me for what is not. Enjoy what is, and trust me for what is not. So as we're walking, taking in our water and worshiping, enjoy this moment, enjoy this time. Don't become so frustrated with worrying about what's next, or how am I going to adjust to this, that, or the other. Enjoy what is. And in that moment, God teaches us and transforms us in ways that we're able to handle what is to come. And that even because this has been a year that we can't over say this enough, that it has been a tragic year.
Mm-hmm.
And so within it, in dealing with the losses and dealing with having to adjust to new patterns in life, like literally even allowing God to give us space to find pleasures in even the difficult moments. And he's able to do that. that even in my hard times, I can still see the face of God. That's why I will say it's so important to be able to see God in everything. Because one of the things is that I say to the Lord, just let me see your face in it. Even
Mm.
if it's a hard space, let me see your face. And if I can see your face, I will make it through it. So, yes. And don't forget that put this stick on the outside of your takeaway bag is that God is the best GPS. Let God position you where he would have you to be. So
Yes,
I could
yes.
go on with a lot of leftovers, but obviously I need to stop eating leftovers. Girl, I'm working on it.
Oh my goodness, I can't take you, Martina. But the leftover, you spoke on being in the now, and that is something that is very important, that as because so much is going on. I also want to add, and I think I managed to say this, to give yourself grace, as you're processing, as you're, taking in everything, to give yourself grace. And as that popped in my head, because I was going to expound on the being in the now, but then you mentioned it, and so it was dropped in, acronyms. April called me out on the acronym. I'll take that, the prophetess of the
Of
acronyms.
acronyms,
I
doctor.
take that. Doctor, doctor of the acronyms, and
Dr.
because
Acronym.
one was just given, dropped into me about grace.
Mm-hmm.
And grace, if you want to write this down, the word grace, G is for growth. That, we are ever growing. I look at my 2-year-old granddaughter, and she is just growing so fast, and growth is just natural to us. And so we have to process, and just as we grow, take the time to be in the now, as we grow. To R, relax and recreate. That
Mm-hmm.
we have to have some recreation and some relaxation time, in that time, in that process. And A, to articulate your feelings, your thoughts. Find someone to talk to, a friend, a confidant, someone that you can go to, a therapist. That is okay. Therapy is okay. Um, we're going to C, create a safe space within ourselves
Yes.
and within our home, a safe space, somewhere that I can run and say, okay, I'm safe here. I remember playing kickball, and that was one of my favorite sports to play is kickball. Just run, run.
Mm-hmm.
And, you run into home, and that was the safe space. Once your foot was on home, nobody can get you. And so creating that safe space for yourself and within yourself, be intentional with your words with yourself. And then E, we're going to embrace love. Just embrace it. Find it wherever you are, within yourself, the love of God, our creator. Embrace that love. Find it in nature. Find it in every connection. Martina and I, we joked about it, but look for God, signs for God in everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Seek God because God is showing love to you. And so embrace that love. And that if you do those things, if you grow, relax, and have recreation, articulate, create, and embrace, then the grace of God will always be with you. And so we thank you so much for being watching and being a part of this episode of Table Talks. If you are watching the replay, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, join us each month.
This is our 1-year anniversary. We've been doing it a year.
Bum,
That
bum.
just popped in my head. Oh,
To you.
thank you, Jesus.
It's our anniversary. Man, oh, I wish April was on, but happy anniversary. 1 year later. Look, she is.
Wow.
Yes, happy anniversary. So this, and that's what even in the time of last year, we didn't know what this was going to be. We didn't know, we knew that it was needed. And these talks have helped me so much, and I hope
Yeah.
that those who have viewed them in the time, that you all get some type of value from it, that you are able to apply something, just a little bit of a nugget to your life, and that you are able to grow from hearing our discussions there at the table. And if you would like to be a part of the table talk conversation, send an email to tabletalkllp@gmail.com. We would love to have you a part of the conversation at the table. You all have a blessed one, and we will see you next month. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. We love you. Bye.